You get up to 18s and 20s beyond the special order stuff.
Okay, we'll call this council public hearing to order. It is Wednesday, June 19th. The time is 6 p.m. The topic is sale of city-owned properties on Malone Road, as tax lot number 29254. I'm not going to go into the Meridian, which is 16.3 acres, and tax lot number 29246, which is 6.8 acres. And I don't know if we have a map showing the said property.
Yeah, there's a map there's a map in the packet. Is Bill on line?
Yes.
Okay, that gives a little highlight of what we're here about, and we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. Would you like to make a comment?
Do you want to have Bill go over the written comments first before we open it up?
Sure.
Hi, Mayor and Council. So as you know, you're holding a hearing regarding the sale of real property as allowed under ORS 221.725. And Kathy Payne, City Recorder, has provided the notice that's required by ORS 221.725 subsection 2 by publishing the notice at least a week before the public hearing. So the resolution that is included in your packet provides some information, but there are other requirements that are stated within the statute for disclosure at the public hearing. Subsection 4 of that statute says that the nature of the proposed sale and the general terms thereof, including an appraisal or other evidence of the market value of the property, shall be fully disclosed by the City Council at the public hearing. And any resident of the city shall be given an opportunity to present written or oral testimony at the hearing. So the comments that we've received so far, there was an email that was sent to us by citizen Steve Toski, where he's asked that his 8 different concerns be included within the city record of the hearing, I guess. Yeah, he said, please include these comments to the City Council regarding the public hearing. So the first one talks about the price, and he says that the price of $35,000 per buildable lot does not specify the price for the property. Well, the advertisement is legally sufficient. It's not deficient, as the city has included the details that I just specified, or 221.725 subsection 2, that sets out what's required. It's not necessary within the public notice that the actual sales price and appraisal be included. So in my opinion, John and the council have the right to disclose the details at this meeting and should do so after I complete my comments. The second one requires the city, Mr. Toski says that ORS 221.725 requires the city to hold an advertised public hearing before it can sell the property, and he raises concerns that apparently he has seen on a listing under some MLS service where the properties in question are listed as pending. He says that means that a sales contract has been consummated, therefore objection is made to the sale as being against Oregon law. My comment is I'm not aware of any pending property notification in MLS. John has sent me a notation that the realtor has indicated that they recognize that any sale of the city property is not completed until the City Council goes through its process. So there's not a sale.
Good.
And John can discuss with you the process that's been followed, as he's more knowledgeable about the details. The third question that Mr. Toski raised is, he says, I understand that there were other offers for this property. One of the offers included a development plan for the entire property, which was in his terms, quality development. He says he believes the council should be discussing its options at this public hearing and making a decision that's best for the citizens of St. Helens. My comment to you there is council certainly can speak to the process it's followed, but the statute does not require disclosure of all of the options that you've considered. The disclosure requirements of the statute are what the sale details are, what the potential sale could be. The fourth item mentioned is Mr. Toski stated that the proposed resolution on the agenda states that the sale of the property is in the best interests of the city. It should be in the best interests of the people of the city. Well, the statute doesn't make any requirements other than that the notice give the reasons why the city council considers this sale necessary or convenient to sell the property. The city is free to determine how it expresses its reasons for making that determination, but there's no legal issue here. The fifth issue Mr. Toski raised is a proposed resolution and agenda item does not state the consideration being paid for areas of the property that are not buildable lots, or whether these are even contemplated in the sale. And my response is, during the hearing, the council will disclose the nature of the proposed sale and the general terms thereof. So you can go into whatever detail you feel is suitable. The appraisal has to be disclosed, and John has indicated to me that's before the council, and it's available. And the appraisal needs to be disclosed, and it can be compared to what the city expects the range of revenue from the potential sale will be. As I understand it, you have an agreement for potential agreement for $35,000 per buildable lot, but the number of buildable lots will be determined by the potential buyer going through the land use process. So it's a range that you would have. The next item raised by Mr. Toski is that there was no discussion in the legal notice regarding conflicts of interest, in that the real estate agent for the city is also the real estate agent for the buyer, and the city should have an agent without conflicts of interest. My comment to you there is the notice prescribed by ORS 221-725 does not require any such discussion of the concerns raised. The next item raised is that Mr. Toski says, I think there was a better project on the table for the city and its people for complete development of the property. That should be presented and made public before the city decides to go through with this sale. And as I noted before, the council's required to follow the notice requirements of the statute and conduct a public hearing. At the hearing, the council must provide any resident of the city the opportunity to present comments. But the level of information the council wishes to disclose regarding alternative projects is up to you. That's discretionary on your part. But the prime focus needs to be on the nature of the proposed sale and the general terms within that sale. Then the final question or concern raised by Mr. Toski is that the alternative offers on the property have not been disclosed. They should be disclosed and subject to public view and discussion. And my comment is, see my note above, there's not a legal issue here. So I think the statutory requirements have been followed to this point, and now you have a responsibility under the statute to follow ORS 221.725 subsection 4, which is to discuss the nature of the proposed sale, the general terms thereof, including the appraisal or other evidence of market value, and these should be fully disclosed by the council at the public hearing before taking public testimony.
All right.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then I'm gonna finish off the public comment period first.
No, I think let me go on to
Okay.
the other aspects here to kind of fill in what Bill talked about. Process. The city listed the property and received 3 bids or 3 estimates back. Of those 3 estimates, each one of those estimates was for the entire property, not just the per lot, but all of the properties. Value was based on the lot yield, how many lots they can get out of this property as a subdivision, and the price per lot was then the defining factor. And also there was some conversation around density, you know, what the city wanted to see, a more dense project or a less dense project. And we did do an appraisal on the project. The appraisal is right here. CBRE did an MIA certified appraisal. It came in around $1 million. Well, it came in at $1,060,000. The target range at 35,000 a lot with 5,000 square foot lot minimums comes, we feel like, in range of $2.7 to $3 million, somewhere in that. The city should see a revenue of that. So we feel that's a pretty solid. The property being listed as pending is something that when we've used realtors in the past, I've made every offer subject to approval by the city council. And that recognizes I'm the agent for the city. I'm not actually signing that it's sold. So just to take this to ground, I reached out, got a statement from Joe Kessie, OHM, to saying that he recognizes that as well, and I can submit that into the record if you want to see that. I think that addresses pretty well the other aspects, unless you have questions.
No, I just think that, if you could submit that into the record, just the email back and forth, and that's good enough. Just so it's there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you covered all the bases that Bill Monahan just talked about from section 4.
Yes, a little more detail. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and now I'll take public comment.
First, I'll say that I want to see this property sold and developed. So we're in agreement there, but not at fire sale prices. One of these 2 lots was actually listed in my name on behalf of the public health district that owned it, the hospital district, the former hospital district. As it was listed in my name, I had it listed for sale 15 years ago for $8 million. Actually had an offer to sell this property for 5. It didn't happen because then the county stole it from me and then gave it to you. Of course, I'll go to my dying day to think that that was a fair process. But this does seem like a dirty dirt deal part 2. I don't think that you should have the public hearing on selling property after you've already had offers. I think that the hearing to sell the property should come first, then you get an offer, and then you decide to go forward. Again, it seems backwards. I think your assessed value is way off. The actual money that was spent and developed on this property 15 years ago was $3.3 million. The actual taxpayer dollars that was spent on purchasing the property and doing the infrastructure, wetland mitigation. That was in 2010. So almost 15 years ago. Just at fair market value and increase in dollars, this property should be going for 4.6 million. That's just increases. And now tell me, with the current market and the rate of return, it's worth way more than that. What bothers me about it is that you included $1 million of property sales in your current budget, which I think was wrong. Your finance director told you that that was not a good idea. You ignored her. And it bothers me that, again, now suddenly this is a pending sale. It seems like this is a backdoor deal that was done prior to your budget. Because again, if you don't sell this property, you have to cut $1 million from your budget. I think that's backwards. Again, this process is, I believe, corrupt and unethical. That you should, well, you can disagree. That's certainly your prerogative. I totally think it's a wrong price. You also have it, again, listed the total price of 3.1 million, which is what it works out to be. That's what is listed on the RMLS. Again, that is way lower than what it should be sold for. You also don't say what's going to be there, whether it's going to be individual lots or whether they're going to go in a felony flats part 2, which is what Broadleaf Arbor is known as. And I would object to that. Again, I want to see it developed into single family homes, but there's nothing in this requirement that says that. And the price is way, way, way low.
Okay, so we're having a public hearing on, the sale of Millard Road property, if you'd like to make public comment. Okay, Kathy, do we have anybody on Zoom?
Let me ask. Doesn't appear anybody's responding to.
Nobody's responding. So the process of this property was, we got the appraisal. The city had been talking about surplus properties for quite some time. The council ordered the appraisals on 3 different properties, and this one, Jacob's Bluff, and the Conex Box property. And we got those back, and we went through the process of picking a realtor. Me and Councilor Hubbard sat on that, and John Walsh. We then proceeded with that winner of that to market the property. And anybody had a chance to, was more than welcome to bid on it prior to the closing date, which was, just, I don't know, weeks ago. I don't know exact date, so don't hold me to it, but weeks ago. And then we got the proposals, and we discussed them with the realtor, and the question is what kind of development does the city want to see there? And our planner is here, Jake Gretchen. At 35, a lot is standard from all 3 bids that were people interested, was pretty standard to what it goes for.
Did you mention that, like Toski said, buildable lot, so
Yeah.
they're not buying buildable lots. They're
Yeah.
buying raw land
That's right.
at 5,000 feet for that price.
That's correct, yes. So yes, this is raw land. It's encumbered by wetlands. It could be a very unique development, but have the city, Jacob, you're familiar with this property, and so is Jenny. I don't know if you want to speak just a little bit on it, just because we are transparent and we went through the right process on this,
I
so.
do want to say one comment real quick,
Yep.
which is something I feel like is very important, that the public knows that this council was almost unanimous about wanting to develop that property into single family homes and for it to be an upscale neighborhood. And that is the direction that we're hoping to go with. And I think
Yeah.
everybody up here wants that same direction and is going to stand firm with trying to complete that and making sure that development has that same, value in mind.
Yes,
That decision of 5,000 feet, does that give planning enough?
well, because it was mixed use. Let's speak on that a little bit.
Can they split those and do a duplex with what we've got?
Any lot can be, right? By statute.
Yeah, so I'll back up just a little bit and then get to that. So when we acquired this and decades before that, this property was zoned public lands. And I believe it was zoned public lands because it was under the school district's ownership for a long time. The school district used it for wetland mitigation, and so some of the wetlands on there from school district wetland mitigation process. Project. There was the hospital project that was a taxing district, and that project was unsuccessful. But when you drive by the site and you see sidewalks along Millard Road, it was the result of that hospital project. Anyways, the hospital project didn't work out. And then it was kind of in limbo. The county had it. It was kind of a hot potato. The county had it for a while and determined that because we had annexed it, and the reason we annexed it was because the hospital was going to utilize the sanitary sewer, which comes in from the Millard Road property. So they determined because we had annexed it, that it ended up in our lap. Now, the hospital project was only the southerly third of the site.
Yes.
We already owned the northerly 2/3 from some horse trading. Not too long before that, that was for some Ross Road property, which is now the unofficial golf course out there. Now, we rezoned this a few years back to mixed use. Because public lands is pretty limited on what you can do with it. And so then this gets into Councilor Hubbard's question. So as a mixed use zone, there's a lot of different things you could do with it. You could put a market there, you could build apartments, or you could build a single family dwelling subdivision. And in the case of a single family dwelling subdivision in the mixed use zone, the minimum lot size would be 5,000 square feet. So it goes to the R5 zoning standards when you do that kind of subdivision. So that's where the 5,000 comes from. It just means that that's the basic minimum lot size. And it means that you don't want to see higher density than that. There's some tools that make that potential, but basically that's been ruled out. And the person who chose the site has talked to us about a single family dwelling subdivision. Now, because of state rules and the size of St. Helens being greater than 10,000 in the population, we were obligated a couple years ago to basically put duplexes as a land use on the same footing as single family dwellings. So we cannot discriminate between the two. We have to treat them the same. So someone from a land use standpoint, and that's an important term right there, and I'll explain that here in a second. From a land use standpoint could, well, I just want to put a duplex on every lot. However, there is your agreement through a transaction and development rules. And if the agreement through transaction is for a single family dwelling subdivision, then, you know, that would be what they would do per that. Now, it doesn't mean that once all the lots are sold, developer moves on, lives happily after, that people can't convert them to duplexes. That's very well possible. And I think it's impossible to prevent.
But highly unlikely, but yes.
Yeah, it's, I mean, ever since we changed the rules, you know, we just didn't see duplexes pop up everywhere. There's an occasional second dwelling unit that's usually for like a relative or something like that. So hopefully that kind of helps explain things.
Or it could be, you have to follow the state law then.
I'm sorry,
The
Russ.
state law saying you have to, you're allowed to put a duplex there,
Yes,
so you don't have to do that.
But land use.
you don't have to do it. It says, but if they wanted to, we couldn't put a roadblock to it. And then, as Brady pointed out, someone could build apartments there, and if someone built apartments there, it would be to our apartment residential standards, which is our highest zoning density. Although the proposal that we've been discussing with the developer has been for a single family dwelling subdivision.
And we could put that in our agreement at transaction, like you stated.
I would recommend that if you want to make sure that's the case, because we don't have the power with our code to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just coming back to the duplex rule that, but that applies, that's not just to R5, that applies to R7 and R10. I just want to make that clear that.
Anywhere you allow single family dwelling, even R10, which is our big lots, we have to do that there. So, yeah, it's across the board. Yeah, that's good.
And I like the point that you brought up that over two thirds of this was already city owned property. The 16.3 is city owned.
Yeah, I was here for the hospital debacle and all the concerns about it, so I'm sensitive to that.
Yes, yeah, so thank you for that, Jacob. Thank you for all your hard work too, you and Judy both, here late night again. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other formalities we need to go through?
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, if I may, you want to close the public hearing? If you haven't already done that, I didn't hear you say it, but you want to close the public hearing?
Yep.
And then you want to have a motion to approve the resolution, and within the resolution has a determination at the public hearing that the properties have no identified public use and they should be offered for sale. And the city acknowledges within the resolution that has followed the proper process and is directing staff to go ahead with the identified sale. So someone ought to make a motion and a second to adopt that resolution, making those determinations.
Okay, we need a resolution.
The resolution is on the.
Brandon has it up. Brandon has it up.
Make a motion to adopt resolution number.
I have to close the hearing first. Okay,
It's on
so,
the agenda.
Yeah, it's on the evening agenda.
okay, it's on the evening agenda, Bill. We're good.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you did that within the public hearing, that you're making that determination that that the properties have no identified public use, and that's within the resolution. I didn't hear that
Okay.
stated, so I wanted to make sure that that was on the record, so that later on, when you take that action, it's clear that that was part of
So go
the.
ahead and just read the resolution. Don't,
Doesn't say that,
don't just,
Read the whole thing, it's 2 pages.
It doesn't say that.
it doesn't say what.
Not what Bill's wanting us to say right now.
Oh, the resolution does. But I didn't hear anybody make reference to the resolution being part of this public hearing.
Oh, okay.
It was in the publication and it was within the packet. But I
Okay,
just wanted
so-
to make it clear, it's on the record that you've identified that there's no identified public use and the property should be offered for sale. And then
Yeah.
you'll take your action later on at the meeting.
We have identified that there is no public use and that the resolution number 2014 covers all that.
Right.
Yep. Okay, so I've stated that for the record and I'm gonna go ahead and close the hearing and we'll pass it in a regular session, Bill.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Hey, have a good night.
Thank you too.
Okay, hearing that, hearing is closed. We're a little behind, but we'll get there. Annexation says you go pretty fast. So. Get that count. That's the quick in, quick out, so. Yeah, we'll go ahead and call this public hearing to order. It's Wednesday, June 19th. The time is 6:27 PM. The topic is annexation of property located at 35456 East Division Road, Dahlgren. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jenny Dimshow.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a quasi judicial land use hearing. The subject of this hearing is a request for an annexation. The subject property is identified on the county assessor's map as lot 1900 on map 4 North, 1 West, 8 CA. The applicant is Christine Dahlgren. The owner is Dahlgren Living Trust. Because quasi judicial proceedings require the observance of certain procedural formalities, we must take a few moments to put some preliminary matters and required statements. Does any member of the council wish to declare a potential or actual conflict of interest or bias in this matter? Does any member of the council wish to declare an ex parte communication or site visit? Does anyone from the audience object to the ability of a counselor to make a fair decision? None. Generally, the order of proceedings will be as follows. Required statements, staff report, applicant's presentation, those in favor, neutral, those opposed, rebuttal, final questions, close of the record, deliberations, and decision. The following statements are required to be made at the commencement of the hearing pursuant to City Code and ORS 197-797, Section 5. The following is a list of applicable substantive criteria for this decision. St. Helens Municipal Code 1708-040, 1728-030, and 171120-030. All testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward the applicable substantive criteria as described or other criteria in the comprehensive plan, land use regulation, which the person believes applies to this decision. Failure to raise an issue, including constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval in this hearing, in person or in writing, or failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the approving authority an opportunity to respond to the issue, precludes an appeal to LUBA, the Land Use Board of Appeals, on that issue, and precludes an action for damages in circuit court. All right. Thank you, Kathy. That's exactly what I wanted you to pull up. So this property for annexation is right behind Dahlgren's. It's owned by Dahlgren Living Trust. Its address is 35456 East Division Road. It's about 1 acre in size. And a while back, the property owner filed a consent to annex because their septic failed and they wanted to connect to city sewer. And our code allows connection once they file a consent to annex. They don't have to go through the actual formal hearing that we're doing tonight in order to connect, especially for a failing septic. So the property, it's 1 acre, it's got an existing single family dwelling on it. Its access is off of Division Road, which has, paved driveway approach. Weirdly, it has 2 improved access points. And the second driveway leads to a building pad, but there's nothing there. So maybe there used to be a second dwelling or a second shop or something, but it's no longer there. Let's see, what else do I want to say? We always send referral comments out to agencies. Land Development Services with the county said they don't have any concerns. Columbia County Public Works said that if in the future it goes through any development that requires a building permit, they'll have to obtain an access permit through the county because East Division Road is a county road in this area. For annexations, we look at quasi judicial amendment standards. And the comprehensive plan designation for this, if you could zoom out just a little bit. So there's 2 different colors of that stipling. One is kind of a pink color, and that's unincorporated highway commercial via our comp plan. And then the yellow stipling is, you can scroll out just a little bit to the legend at the top. So the yellow stipling is the rural, suburban, unincorporated residential. So you can kind of see that division where it's residential and then you've got your unincorporated highway commercial. All of the pink property that's in the city limits, that's zoned highway commercial. And that's our only option upon annexation for unincorporated highway commercial. Makes sense. So our comp plan says unincorporated highway commercial. Our zoning then is highway commercial upon annexation. The weird part about this property, if you scroll down just a bit, right there, that's perfect. So normally for annexations, we require contiguous property, right? You have to be abutting property that's in city limits. And if you look closely, the property 1 property away is only separated by right of way. So the code requires that you be contiguous, separated either by a body of water or by right of way. So following East Division Road, there's no land in between this property and the property that's just to the south in pink there.
Interesting.
If you want to be really creative, you can actually just cross the highway and the rail and touch the heavy industrial property across the highway there. That's also in city limits. And the only thing separating it is right of way. But it's a little bit closer to go to the property to the south. So it's interesting that we can annex this property, even though it's sort of skipping a property. But it's contiguous by only right of way.
Yeah, any other things with that work?
Yeah, so we always look at adequate public facilities. The site's currently connected to McNulty Water. There's an agreement with McNulty Water in this location. I already talked about sewer. Access is in East Division Road, and they're actually already connected to city sewer, which they're allowed through our process. If this property is redeveloped in the future with a proposal that requires a land use decision, like site development review or a partition, like if they wanted to divide it, we could have the authority to enact the fair share sewer fee because we have those conveyance issues with our sewer. But there's still adequate capacity. So we have to make those findings in annexation. So that's the sewer. I mentioned that the only zoning upon annexation is highway commercial. It is a single family dwelling, so that does mean it'll become a non-conforming use. Single family dwellings aren't allowed in highway commercial, but they also weren't allowed in the county's commercial zoning that it was. So it was a non-conforming use before. Upon annexation, it's still a non-conforming use. The planning commission unanimously recommended approval, so does staff. And that upon annexation, it be zoned highway commercial, and that the comprehensive plan, zoning be highway commercial incorporated. That's it.
Public comment, anybody like to comment on? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, so hearing none, this hearing is closed. With the formality that got to do. With the formality, they did, they got sewer, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get a utility customer.
Yeah. So go ahead and call this council public hearing to order. It is Wednesday, June 19th. The time is 6:36 p.m. The topic is annexation of property west, south, and east of 58212 Old Portland Road, Port of Columbia County. And I'll turn it over to Jenny Dimshow again.
Here we go. This is a quasi judicial land use hearing. The subject of the hearing is a request for an annexation. The subject property is identified on county assessor's map as lot 1000 on map 4 north 1 west 8D. The applicant is Sean Clark. The owner is the Port of Columbia County. Because quasi judicial proceedings require the observance of certain procedural formalities, we will take a few moments to cover some preliminary matters and required statements. Does any member of the council wish to declare a potential or actual conflict of interest or bias in this matter? And does any member of council wish to declare an ex parte communication or site visit? And does anyone from the audience object to the ability of a counselor to make a fair decision? Generally, the order of proceedings will be as followed: required statements, staff report, applicant's presentation, those in favor, neutral, those opposed, rebuttal, final questions, close of the record, deliberations, and decision. The following statements are required to be made at the commencement of the hearing pursuant to City Code and ORS 197797, Section 5. The following is a list of the applicable substantive criteria for this decision. St. Helens Municipal Code 1708-040, 1728-030, and 171112-030. All testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward the applicable substantive criteria as described or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulation which the person believes applies to this decision. Failure to raise an issue, including constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval in this hearing, in person or in writing, or failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the approving authority an opportunity to respond to the issue, precludes appeal to LUBA, the Land Use Board of Appeals, on that issue, and precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Great. Okay, so this is a port-owned property on Old Portland Road. It's next to the blue building that you've probably driven by a bunch of times. It kind of looks like an old warehouse or barn with some overhead.
To be a barn store.
Yeah, so that blue building is, Kathy, if you could point to that, that's that property. And so the property tonight is kind of a U shape that surrounds that property. Yeah, so it's an irregular shaped lot and it's just under 12 acres in size. It's 11.84 acres, so much bigger than what we were just looking at. And this property actually has land use approval with the county for a 10,320 square foot maintenance building for the Port of Columbia County. A large portion of the property is encumbered by a 100-year floodplain. The site slopes pretty steep towards the back, and you can kind of see the vegetation line a little bit on the aerial there. There's also a locally significant wetland with a 75-foot protection zone. But the port's proposal avoids most of the wetlands and the floodplain issues. It locates the building pretty high and dry. So the reason that the port filed a consent to annex is because they want to connect to city utilities for that maintenance building. The County Land Development Services said they had no concerns. In fact, it was a condition of the approval, so they knew that the annexation was coming. County Public Works said that there's no county roads involved, or Old Portland Road is in the city's jurisdiction at this location. So the comprehensive plan designation is the light gray. It's really hard to see on this map. I apologize for that. It's unincorporated heavy industrial. And the only zoning option upon annexation for unincorporated heavy industrial, guess it, heavy industrial. So there's not really a decision to be made there. It also is more obviously adjacent to city jurisdiction. You can see it on the southeast and west side of the property. There's incorporated areas. We always look at utilities. Water's available in Old Portland Road. You know, our water system has capacity to support this development. It's not currently connected to sewer, but it is available on Old Portland Road. With regards to capacity, our wastewater treatment plant can support the additional load. With regards to conveyance, that's where things get a little bit different with this annexation. So in the county's approval, you know, we have a conveyance issue with our sanitary sewer system. And so in the county's approval, Jacob provided comments as a referral that said, you know, we need this fair share fee at the time of building permit issuance to account for the conveyance issue. And because they haven't submitted their building permits, we've added a condition of approval with this annexation to make sure that that fair share fee gets incorporated into the building permitting process. So it's just another way to track and make sure that we're talking to each other. So there is a recommended condition of approval. You can see it in the staff report that we collect that fair share fee paid per equivalent dwelling unit. And else. Yeah, the planning commission unanimously recommended approval, so does staff, and there's just that one condition of approval.
Right, thank you. Open it up for public comment. Okay, not hearing any, this hearing, before this hearing closes, tonight when we were doing these, you can just do as staff recommended, because it's included in that report, the share fee, so. It's for anybody who's making that motion. All right.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, good job, Jenny, keep going, keep going.
Kind of thing.
Tim Tuster film.
We wish.
We got logic, don't. I'll call this council public hearing to order. It's Wednesday, June 19th. The time is 6:45 PM. The topic is annexation of property located at 2180 Gable Road. JLJ Earth Movers LLC. I'll turn it over to Jacob Gretchen.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a quasi judicial land use hearing. The subject of this hearing is a request for an annexation. Subject property is identified in the county assessor map as lot 100 on map 4 North 1 West 9BB. The applicant is JLG Earth Movers LLC. And the owner is Jim Ives, Ron Schlumpberger, with a contract to sell it to JLJ Earth Movers. It's a little more complex on the ownership thing. Because the quasi judicial proceedings require the observance of certain procedural formalities, you must take a few months to cover some preliminary matters and required statements. So, does any member of the council wish to declare a potential or actual conflict of interest or bias in this matter?
Yeah, I'm related to Schlumberger, so that's part of one of the applicants, I think is what I heard. Is that correct?
Well, he is not an applicant, he is an owner. It's in contract to sell to JLJ Earth Movers.
Sure. I can make a fair decision. I mean, if anybody wants.
It's good to note it.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, does any member of the council wish to declare an ex parte communication or site visit? Other than driving by it multiple times a day because it's on Gable Road.
It's the other one I was inquiring about, Jacob, the new.
Yes, yeah, no, I know. Okay, I don't see any there. Does anyone from the audience want to object to the ability of the counselor to make a fair decision? Don't see anybody? Okay, great. Generally, the order of proceedings will be as follows: required statements, as I'm doing now, staff report, applicant's presentation, and then those in favor, neutral or opposed, rebuttal, final questions, close of the record, deliberations, and decision. So we have some statements we're required to be made at the commencement of the hearing pursuant to our code in ORS 197.797 subsection 5. The following list is the applicable substantive criteria for this decision. St. Helens Municipal Code, section 17.08.040, 17.28.030, and 17.112.030. All testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards the applicable substantive criteria as described, or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulation which the person believes applies to the decision. Failure to raise an issue, including constitutional or other issues related to the proposed conditions of approval in this hearing, in person or in writing, or failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the approving authority an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes, appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue and precludes an action for damages in circuit court. So with that stuff out of the way, let's talk about this subject. So this is once again an annexation, and we kind of group these together for efficiency's sake. We try to be efficient when we can. And this one's a little bit different in that the purpose of it is to utilize the city's development rules. So you can see it there. It's almost completely surrounded by city limits. The red is general commercial. The light is light industrial, and the dark is heavy industrial. So it's very much an industrial area predominantly. Close to 4 acres. There's been a fence along Gable Road for some time, and you probably see some storage out there. And the saga on this property started around 2017. Owners were working with the county to potentially build a shop on there and use it for storage. But ultimately, they withdrew their application from the county before a public hearing, which the county required. And the fence was partially installed, not fully installed. And that was kind of a kerfuffle. But at the very least, we were able to, if you notice on the US 30 or west side of the property, there's kind of an indent where the access was. And my concern at the time, because well, this is going kind of weird, was we wouldn't have a fence geometry that would coincide with an access that we could approve. So we were able to negotiate that. Because it's an arterial street, we need to have basically some refuge for large vehicles to get out of the road. And then it kind of sat idle for a while. And because it's on Gable Road, you know, you drive by, you observe it. And, you know, I've talked about how, you know, 2018 began a 5-year period of not the funnest part of my career, just it was so busy. And, you know, kind of watching the property, but also just trying to deal with everything else. And then towards the end of last year, we started noticing more activity on it. And the county had signed what's called a land use compatibility statement. It's something that DEQ requires for some of their permits, and it was to put some fill out there. And they specified that there was no land use approval. Basically, if they were to approve the site for storage, it would require a public hearing through the county. And the owner doesn't want to go through that. And so in talking with John Jersey of GLJ Earth Movers, you know, he thought the best approach was just to deal with our administrative process and just bring it in the city. So a little different story than our normal annexation.
And have a public hearing.
Oh, this public hearing,
Yeah.
but this one is, you know, it's an annexation.
It's interesting.
It's a more routine one, and it's not one that they have to attend and, you know, enjoy the
Theatrics.
way of this room.
The county's fees are also really high.
Okay, there you go.
So, there's only one zoning option, light industrial, I believe, it abuts, city limits. So otherwise, it's a pretty routine annexation. It's kind of interesting seeing city limits grow in this area. Planning Commission had no problem with it. So we're talking about a zoning designation of light industrial, comprehensive plan designation of light industrial. And Gable Road has always been a city jurisdiction road. And the access has never been fully approved. And actually, what John Jersey wants to do is move that access. So, that's something to review, we'll get it all buttoned up and legal.
Will allow you to have the say in that too, because it is annexed in.
Yeah, we would, because it's our road too, but it's just, you know, city and county, it's just so much easier when it's just us.
Sure.
As far as, you know, too many cooks in the kitchen. So we recommend approval, and there is a condition in there just about the access point, since we're trying to clean things up, and that's any Gable Road access point, including one in use at the southwest corner, as I mentioned, of the subject property requires approval by the city and associated improvements, included but not limited to paving prior to use. Without such approval, it's contrary to this condition and applicable city law. You know, in dealing with John Jersey, it seems like an upstanding, honorable guy, and I'm sure we'll get it buttoned up. So this is really part of that process.
Excellent. Okay, any public comment? In favor or neutral or opposed? Nope, okay, not hearing any. You're closed. Thank you. Okay, we'll call this council regular session to order. It's Wednesday, June 19th, time is 7 p.m. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll open up for visitor comments. If you'd like to make a comment, please come on up, state your name for the record, and keep it to 3 minutes or less.
I'm talking about your resolution to sell the Millerville property. The listing for that property says on it that it can have up to 350 apartments. That's my biggest concern about it, and of course, the price, which we've already talked about. But I'd like to make certain that you adopt or change that resolution to say that apartments are not allowed. It was my understanding that the Arbor Leaf apartments, that the developer made $400,000 per door on developing that project. That is $140 million profit if there can be 350 apartments on this piece of property. So it's $140 million versus what you would make on 100 lots. There probably wouldn't gonna build apartments. And so if you have the ability, and I don't know that you really do, but if you do have the ability, I would like to see you say that it must be single family lots. Apparently you can't restrict it to duplexes, but I guess duplexes will be okay. But I don't want to see another huge apartment complex there. I think that we have enough of those here. I'm also have huge concerns of the fact that both the seller, same realtor represents the seller and the buyer. I think that especially when you're a city and with this large of a purchase, that's unethical. I don't think that should be allowed. I think that the seller or the buyer needs to get a different real estate agent. And it was my understanding that this was not disclosed and how it was sort of forced out of there. I think that needs to change, that you need to, one of you needs to find a different realtor. And that's just wrong. I think that the other offers should need to be explored as well. And again, price is way off. My last thing I want to comment about is your RFP process. I'm not concerned about what's going to happen to ETC. They've been doing this for 40 years. They're going to be fine. My concern is what's going to happen to our town and the vetting or lack of vetting that you've gone through. I want to know in this process that you have, how is this company that you've selected be vetted? In addition, I want to know how we can protest when the public records haven't been released. I want to see this RFP, the complete RFPs, and I want to see the scoring. So I don't see how the clock is ticking on that protest process when those public records have not been released, and when are they going to be released? That seems really backwards, that the clock is ticking, but there's no data. So that needs to come out.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, other visitor comments?
Braiding on something. All right, so greetings. My name is Jennifer Massey. I'm here speaking on behalf of myself personally and our nonprofit, FAFOD. I want to start out with a few points of interest so I can go on public record in case they need to be called upon in the future. So facts for the record for anybody, especially two individuals, engaging in defamation, slander, libel. This is their very public notice to cease and desist. Myself personally and our organization have never had anything against Tina Curry or E2C. We as an organization received a vast amount of complaints regarding tourism. We've had submitted and collected a plethora of public records, and we're researching issues for almost 10 months prior to anything being brought to the forefront by another entity, and appears to be exacerbated by two individuals of the city that were not us or our organization. At the invitation of John Walsh on December 18, 2023, 2 council members and I were to attend. Quorum rules prohibit more. Only one was able to make it. There was nothing secret about the meeting. Due to the sensitivity of the topic, it was not publicized. It was discreet, not sneaky, and not nefarious. The intent of the meeting was to seek answers that many citizens brought to our attention and to have clarification on public records. To ensure that the public record was accurate as possible, I memorialized the entire conversation and sent to council and John Walsh with the notification that the record would serve as accurate unless any of the content therein was refuted, which nothing was. I also spoke to all the council members individually to review the information that was sent in the email. I did call DOJ and inquired about how volunteers can be paid and to gain more knowledge of the methods it could be done. I did not mention my name, the city's name, or Kiwanis. Nothing regarding Matt Brown's financial concerns regarding tourism was refuted with the meeting with John Walsh, not even the alleged missing money. He also received a letter of no wrongdoing. The individuals that keep spreading information could at any time ask the council members to validate any aforementioned statements, but they did not because it doesn't meet their narrative. Additionally, in my email, I provided the name and the number from the individual I spoke to at DOJ. They could have fact checked with her as well, but they chose not to. On May 23rd at approximately 11:01 a.m., I spoke to John Walsh. He provided the following information. He reiterated that all funds related to tourism are deposited in the WANA account, which serves as the operational account. When I was also inquiring about the operational fund and the unsubstantiated 1.2 million, the response was, well, there's been, I would like to call it an audit. I know it's more of a financial summary. I believe that John should publicly state tonight that there was no official audit done, only a financial summary, which is what we already knew. This would be helpful to dispel any misinformation. Lastly, it appears there's undertone of threatened litigation for the tourism process from 2 individuals. Due to my job, I spent a bit of time in the courtroom with some phenomenal lawyers. Although I do not favor litigation, if possible, I would encourage the council to not feel hostage to the premise. Add 2 words would be very insightful to bust through all the minutia to get to the truth. That is discovery and depositions.
Any other visitor comments?
Hi everyone, Nick Helmet, City of St. Helens, beautiful baby boy Ivan. I don't have anything that intense. I just wanted to, I was listening to the one of the work sessions about the insurance report, and that sounded like, and I could be wrong, because I'm a dad, so my mind's everywhere. Sounded like we're paying for the insurance for the cabins on Sand Island, or it's covering. To me, that seems a little weird because it's a company that's renting the island from us that decided to put the cabins on. I feel like they should have to pay for that insurance and potentially reduce our insurance liability, because it's, with renter's insurance, the renter has to pay for the insurance for the apartment they live in. So I mean, could they just build like a whole entire, not this is total exaggeration, but like, let's say a strip mall on Sand Island? Would we then be responsible to pay for the insurance on that island, even though we're renting it out to them? So just something I don't know if we can look at, just seemed a little off to me. So I apologize if I'm off, if I'm wrong. And let's see, July 13th, still having that barbecue. So everyone here is invited, anyone in St. Helens. I just got a Blackstone grill, so please everyone.
Great.
I got a 36-inch griddle, got it from Walmart, so it was broken, so I had to take it back, but it's got it working now. Yeah, I know you guys do a lot of stuff, and I appreciate what you do. So some of it's correct, some of it's, misinformation, but just try to get through it and just make the best decision for the city rather than individually. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, other visitor comments?
Adam St. Pierre. So there appears to be some misinformation regarding the RFP process and how it's possible the E2C is not the contractor. For clarification, this is the RFP process as I understand it. Please correct any erroneous information. It was just a new contract was discussed back in approximately November. E2C had the opportunity to sign the new contract and refused it in January. E2C then suggested modifications that went back to the attorney. This caused a need for a new RFP and not just a contract. We waited almost 2 months for the attorney to provide an RFP, according to John Walsh. After the mayor questioned the status due to the concerns brought by Russ and Brandon about the delay, the RFP and contract were produced within a few days. Mind you, it was the same contract. Council was criticized that no one in their right mind would apply for it. That another delay was needed. Not only did E2C apply, but 3 others did as well. The top 2 candidates were selected for interviews based on this, the differential in numerical amounts between the second and third proposals based off the RFP guidelines. During the interview presentation, Treadway Events questioned the operating budget for tourism and past finances for the 2023 Halloween count, which John had no answer, even though the citizens and council had requested them since December. Again, if I'm inaccurate in anything stated, please provide a public explanation on the record as to why. The lack of providing finances gives the appearance to be intentional. Council President Chilton requested them either in November or December. Typically, they're disclosed well before the budget process is started. Council, please ask John Walsh to respond on the record tonight. Why have the Halloween Town 2023 financials not been provided as to date? Please ask John Walsh to publicly state the funds in the Wanna Account Credit Union, the Tourism Operating Fund, belong to the City of St. Helens. He has sent it via email, quote, "The funds in the Wanna Trust account are the contractors for use in administering the event's management contract. Should the contract terminate, any remaining funds will revert back to the city." That was sent to me on 4/11/2024. It is important to have it stated publicly since Treadway asked about it during the interview and John had no answer. Both of the questions I have asked for a formal statement on have been inquired about by the applicant that has received the letter of intent, Treadway. Lack of providing these answers will inherently make success and the transition much more difficult. Treadway and the citizens deserve an easy transition and answers. Thank you.
Any other visitor comments? Anybody on Zoom?
Yes, one, Steve Toskey. Just a minute, I need to. Oh, so.
Okay, Steve, go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name for the record, please.
Stephen Toskey, citizen of St. Helens. I'm calling to comment about the proposed sale of Millard Road property. Hopefully you've had a chance to review my email comments. Basically, I don't know what the price of the property is. I haven't heard or seen an appraisal. The property is listed as pending on the MLS. That means the sales contract has been consummated. There hasn't been a public approval for it as far as I know. I don't know of any resolution. I understand there are other offers for the property. One included a development plan. None of those have been reviewed with the public. And then in addition to that, I've got some other comments that hopefully you've read, but I don't think the city had authority to enter into the purchase or sale agreement with a third party prior to holding a public hearing. The statute is clear. The city council obligated to conduct a public hearing prior to the sale. And there's going to be public records requests for the resolution and order adopted by the city council authorizing the sale of the property. I'm making that request. I'm requesting all proposals to purchase the property. I'm making that request. I'm going to make the request.
Mr. Kowski, can I just interrupt you for a minute? Just because
Yes.
I think you missed the public hearing on it at 6 o'clock, and a lot of this was already, we have a response from our attorney on your email. And it was
Okay.
discussed in that, and all the formalities were met. Anything that you are in questioning, I have a copy here that could probably be forwarded to you. And it's in red, the response from the attorneys that shows everything that we have met, and any of the formalities were made at that meeting, public hearing earlier. I just want to give you that because you obviously didn't watch it, so.
Thank you. I was a little confused about the price, so,
And we have an
And-
appraisal, for the price, and there's a response for everything, so.
all right, well, hopefully it's sufficient, and I'm thinking that I understand there's a number of proposals, and one of my main concerns is what's going to happen to this property and how it's going to be developed and who we're choosing to sell it to. And so I understand there's some other proposals that some people have said were pretty nice, and I'm thinking that those should probably be vetted before the city goes forward with this transaction, and I'll leave my comments at that and review the prior hearing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other visitor comments here? No. Okay. So we'll go on with deliberations of the first annexation property is located at 35456 Division Road, Dahlgren. It was originally the formality to get the sewer in. Was pretty unanimous by the planning commission with discussion on it. I mean, there was pretty good discussion earlier. Would somebody like to make a motion on that one?
I'll make a motion to approve annexation of property located at 35456 East Division Road, the Dahlgren property.
Can you put as staff recommendation?
As staff recommendation.
Yep, thank you. Okay, second, so I have a motion that's been made and seconded to approve and annex the 35456 East Division Road. Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Sunday.
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson. Councilor Hubbard. And I'm an aye as well. Okay, the next annexation of property is west, south, and east of 58212 Old Portland Road, Port of Columbia County. It's the U shape.
Make a motion to approve the annexation of property west, south, and east of 58212 Old Portland Road, Port of Columbia County property. As recommended by staff.
Right, yes.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve 58212 Old Portland Road. Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Sunday. Councilor Gunderson.
Aye.
Councilor Hubbard. One aye as well. Okay, annexation of property located at 2180 Gable Road, JLJ Earth Movers LLC.
I'll make a motion to approve the annexation of property located at 2180 Gable Road, JLJ Earth Movers LLC, as recommended by staff.
There you go. Hey, he's nailing it. All right, now I have a second. Councilor Sunday. Okay, I have a motion that's been made and seconded to approve 2180 Gable Road. Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Sunday.
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson. Councilor Hubbard. And I'm an aye as well. Okay, resolution number 2014, resolution of the city of St. Helens, Oregon declaring city-owned property on Millard Road, tax account number 29254 and 29246 as surplus and authorizing the sale of properties in compliance with ORS 221.725.
Move we adopt resolution number 2014 as read.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 2014. So just a little discussion. We went through this process earlier at 6 o'clock. Our attorneys went through all the legalities. The long and short of it is 16 acres was already previously city-owned property, and with the 6.8 was the hospital. This for public record. I just wanted to state that it was already city-owned property prior to.
And I wanted to make one statement also, which is that I'm under the understanding of voting on this, that we are going to make an agreement at transaction for single family homes.
Thank you.
No duplexes.
That's it. Oh,
We can't restrict that.
but
Well,
we can, yes.
you can't. I think you can dictate the initial development, but you can't just say no duplexes forever because that's allowed. So once, you know, people own them, but you're setting the stage for that initial.
Yes.
Okay.
So they won't come to you and ask for duplexes.
That's right.
Yeah, because that would be contrary to the transaction for buyer. Between buyer and seller.
Mhm.
You comfortable with that, President?
Okay, so, all right, so, that was included in the motion, or it was recommended, was talked about earlier. So, the discussion, so I think we can comfortably adopt that into the passive resolution stipulations. So a motion was made and seconded, Councilor President Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Sunday.
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson.
Aye.
Councilor Hubbard, and I'm an aye as well. Okay, approve and authorize for signature, joint memorandum of understanding with Columbia Economic Team for Growing Rural Oregon Grow Initiative. 6, second amendment to agreement with McKenzie Engineering, Inc. for services related to infrastructure design work on the St. Helens Industrial Park, Business Park. And 7, extension of agreement with Mark Comfort for cleanup of various properties within the city.
Make a motion to approve and or authorize for signature line items 5 and 6 and 7. As read.
And you're getting pretty good at this, Mark.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve, and authorize the signatures 5 through 7. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question on McKinsey Engineering and their services for the business park. How are they being used going forward?
Yeah, both 6 and 7 are direct time extensions of their existing contracts they have.
I guess we have sales possibly going on there. And they don't need to do a lot of work until we define what the area is gonna be.
That's
So,
correct, yeah.
Just,
They were doing some work on the PGA parcel and some of the infrastructure planning to serve the sewer and water.
Phase 1, is that what you're talking about, phase 1, or no?
Yeah, to serve the industrial park.
Yeah.
Phase 1 specifically.
Yeah, Castor Road, yeah.
we've got a lot of what they've drawn up of what it came up with. That's not gonna be usable because we've got a different direction of a lot of that. So
Some of the initial part could be used for sanitary.
I'm just focus on spending.
Any other discussion? Okay, I have a motion that's been made and seconded to approve and authorize for signature 5, 6, and 7. Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Sunday.
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson.
Aye.
Councilor Hubbard. And I'm an aye as well. Okay, consent agenda for acceptance, library board minutes dated May 13th, 2024. 9 planning commission minutes dated May 14th, 2024. Yeah. Stop there. Keep going.
I move we approve consent agenda items 8 and 9 as read.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda 8 and 9. Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Sunday.
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson.
Aye.
Councilor Hubbard.
Aye.
No, aye as well. Consent agenda for approval. City council minutes dated February 21st, March 6th, March 3rd, the 20th, April 3rd, May 1st, and May 15th, 2024, and 11 accounts payable bill list.
I make a motion to consent agenda for approval, line items 10 and 11 is read.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda as 10 and 11. Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Sunday.
Aye.
Councilor Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Hubbard.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. I believe we have any carryovers from earlier. All right, council member reports, Council President Chilton.
Citizens Day on Saturday, at 11 a.m. is when it starts. I'll be there all day with my, family. I am in charge of the sand pile, which I'm very excited about. So make sure your kiddos go to the sand pile. Bought a bunch of different goodies to put in there and some dollar coins, and we'll have some sand buckets where everyone can put their treasures in. Yeah.
Treasures, I don't want treasures.
You need to stay out of the sand pile, okay?
Okay.
But I'm very excited about that, and it'll be a fun family day, and I'm hoping that we have a great turnout and that everything goes really smoothly and that everyone is appreciative of the work that goes into this every year. So I'm excited about that. And then 4th of July, we won't see you guys again up here until after the 4th of July. So I want to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday. And don't forget to stop by McCormick Park if you're looking for something to do, and take the kiddos out and about. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandy.
All right, hope everybody had a happy Juneteenth. I just wanted to recognize I've got a few comments on why doesn't the city put up flags for Flag Day? And just want anybody that's listening, let everybody know that it's not the city that puts up flags, but it's actually all volunteers that put up the flags that you see. It's the Lions Club and other volunteers that assist. And with the addition of Juneteenth as a federal holiday, being so close to Flag Day, they rotate each year which one of those holidays they put up flags for, because they do put up over 250 flags on the streets. So this year it was Juneteenth, next year it will be Flag Day again. So just want to thank them for their efforts in doing that. It really is nice to see as you're driving down the streets of St. Helens. Also want to encourage everybody to show up for Citizens Day, also 4th of July at McCormick Park. It's a great day to get out and celebrate what our city has to offer and celebrate one of our beautiful parks in the city. And then just also recognize that the city is going through a lot of change right now. And I realize change can be a little scary. It can be uncomfortable, but change isn't always a bad thing. And just want to thank Tina for all the work that she has done over the last decade. And recognize there's people out there that are celebrating right now, and there's people that are angry and mourning, and lots of feelings out there right now. But whether you love Tina or whether you hated her, part of our story and has contributed a lot. I don't think anybody can deny that she was a hard worker and passionate about what she did for the city. I'm excited for the potential that Treadway is going to be able to bring us, and hope that everybody can get behind them and support them. And I'm excited to see the direction that they might take us. So lots going on.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Councilor Gunderson.
I would also like to publicly thank Tina Curry for all her hard work. Citizens Day is coming up. I enjoyed that way more than I should have last time. Come out, it's fun. I am on the Columbia River Fire and Rescue Board, and I think once a month I'm going to be giving these reports. This is just for St. Helens. Since May 1st through May 31st, they've gone on 367 calls. There's no delineation on that yet. We're working on it to find out where that is. There's also something that I wanted to mention. Since January 1st, there's been 66 calls to the Broadleaf Harbor, 86 calls to Avamere, 92 at Meadow Park, 42 at Spring Meadows. For comparable Forest Park Apartments, 20 calls. I hope to have more details when they've kind of narrowed that down with the software. I was fortunate enough to go on June 3rd. Because I'm also on the Columbia Learning Center board to give out the chance to become scholarships with Luann Kreitzer at the high school. That was a fun time. And hope to keep continuing to do that. Planning Commission is doing really well. I'm very happy with what's going on there, and that's all I got.
Thank you.
I think as far as the planning commission goes, they do a great job and give us the information that we need to move on a lot of different things. The library is quiet as it should be. Not much going on. We're waiting for solar. Possibly that's interesting. I did want to make one comment. I see with the new Treadway coming in, and not really knowing where they can pick up to get going on everything. And I think there's a lot of questions that was brought up tonight about the WANA account. I think that needs to be addressed. Is it the city's money or is it Tina's money or not trying to go after anything that, but it was an operating account, so I think that needs to be addressed for a lot of the public that are asking these questions. And, get that behind us and kind of move on. So that's all I got.
Get this last one out of the way. I'm almost, that was a lot of signs. We got a lot of stuff on our docket tonight. Okay, so. Tomorrow, starting tomorrow, it's gonna be hot, stay cool, stay hydrated, 13 nights. No, it's not 13 nights, I like to call it music on the building. Starts at 6 o'clock and, so then, we have Citizens Day coming up, we have, car show starting early in the morning. There'll be all kinds of activities that Councilor Chilton spoke about. We'll be serving hamburgers and hot dogs, probably roughly around 11:30-ish. And try to serve you all as fast as we can. That's free. Multiple vendors will be there. Nonprofits to for-profit. It's always a good time. We'll have music provided by the Decades. And it's, come on out. That's Saturday, and it's gonna be hot as well. And then the 4th of July celebration, yes, the memorial dedication, looking forward to that. If you're not familiar with that, there's been a lot of work done on our Veterans Memorial over there, and it's gonna be dedicated on that day. So you can get a preview if you do wanna come out for Citizens Day, and then come back on the 4th for the actual ceremony for that. So lot of stuff going on. There is a lot of questions up in the air over all this tourism stuff that nobody kind of a wait and see game on some of it, it sounds like. Not sure how it's all gonna play out, but I'm confident that with our guidance, we're gonna get there. We either will or we won't. I mean, that's the old Chinese saying, so I just know that every action, no matter what I do, every action has a reaction. It has a ripple effect. And that's been a constant in my life. And I would agree with Councilor Sunday that nobody likes change and there's fear of change. And sometimes that's all that is. Sometimes there is some ripple effects that send little shockwaves throughout. But a strong community always survives that. And I think we've got a strong council that can come together. I'm hoping and not be influenced by we work for 14,500 citizens. That's who I work for. Republican and Democrat. Both young and old. I don't work for a small, loud group of individuals or businesses, or I work for the entirety. Now, does their voice matter? Absolutely, and I will listen. But I do not work for them. I work for the majority. And I will continue to be shoot up and show up and speak from my heart how I feel because I love this community. And that's pretty much all I got to say about that. So with that, everybody have a safe 4th of July. Don't burn your place down. Have a good barbecue. Fireworks can't happen down here. We tore up our town. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. We're gonna have a nice